Seven.
Look here. Look here. Seven. Look here. Over here. Over here. Seven. Smile.
Ah, Disney, the place where dreams come true, mice wear pants, and absolutely nothing bad or shady has ever happened, according to Disney. For a company built on whimsy, they sure have a habit of sweeping awkward headlines under the world's cleanest, most aggressively themed rug. Whether it's questionable corporate behavior, eyebrow-raising creative decisions, or a few "oops, did we just traumatize millions of children" moments, the House of Mouse has a whole drawer full of skeletons, lovingly animated, of course, at 24 frames per second. I'm Seven McAllister for 7 Entertainment. Let's take a look at 7 Disney scandals they don't want you to know about. Now, before we get into this, we appreciate your support, so if you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and give a sweet little nudge to that notification bell. Also, hype's a thing. Hype us if you feel like it. Number 1, you've got a friend in me. For a while. When you think of Disney heroes, you think of Moana, Iron Man, Brave. What's her name? Brave? But Galyn Susman is an underappreciated Pixar hero who quite literally saved Toy Story 2, only to be shown the door by Disney a few years later. Back in 1998, Pixar pretty much nuked their own movie. An animator ran a system command so poorly that 90% of the Toy Story 2 files disappeared. Their backup system broken for weeks. Enter Galyn Susman, then supervising technical director, who was on maternity leave working from home and had cleverly kept a copy of the movie on her personal computer. When disaster struck, Galyn hopped in her car. Yes, they strapped this precious hard drive into the back seat like it was a treasure, wrapped it in blankets, and drove it back to the studio. 8 people carried her computer into the server room as if they were hauling the friggin' Ark of the Covenant. Thanks to her, they recovered enough to salvage the movie. Fast forward, Galyn rises up through the ranks because, duh, she is legendary. She becomes a producer, works on Lightyear, etc., and then, wiped to 2023, Disney lays her off in a mass Pixar cut. Social media lost it because folks were like, wait a minute, the woman who saved millions of dollars in that whole movie just gone? Yeah. She's the mom on maternity leave who babysat not just her baby, but Pixar's entire Toy Story 2 production. And after all that, she didn't get a standing ovation, she got a pink slip. Because thanks for saving our billion-dollar franchise, but also, bye. Number 2, Wilderness Massacre. In 1958, Disney released a nature film called White Wilderness, part of their True Life Adventure series. On paper, sounds sweet and wholesome. In reality, it's one of the most infamous fakes in wildlife filmmaking. The shocking scene where hundreds of lemmings run off a cliff and plummet into the sea wasn't some natural Arctic phenomenon. Nah, according to later investigations, Disney's crew staged the whole thing. They shipped a small number of lemmings. Yes, they literally bought or captured them, put them on a spinning turntable covered in snow to simulate a frenzied migration, and then threw or pushed them off a cliff to their deaths. Where was that Arctic Ocean they were supposedly diving into? Well, not so Arctic. The footage was filmed on the Bow River in Alberta, not the sea, and those masses of lemmings, just the same little group being rotated through the shot over and over. Now, science says lemmings do not commit mass suicide. That is an urban legend. Lemmings migrate, sure, but they don't hurl themselves off of cliffs for the horror movie effect. So yeah, Disney didn't just capture nature, they manufactured tragedy. For decades, audiences bought it as wildlife behavior. That's not documentary filmmaking, that's a dirty magic trick, with live animals shoved into the wrong kind of spotlight. Number 3, a little problem. When actor Peter Dinklage, yes, Game of Thrones Peter Dinklage, heard Disney was remaking Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, he lost it. On Mark Maron's podcast, he called the story backward. How can you be progressive enough to cast a Latina Snow White and still trot out 7 little guys living in a backwoods hut? Disney's response, yeah, fair point, they said. Promised to take a different approach. They even said they consulted members of the dwarfism community, but here's where the plot thickens. Leaks from 2023 suggested the remake would just have one actor with dwarfism. Raise some eyebrows if you're rethinking the dwarves. Why erase the jobs of actual dwarf actors? Called the decision absolutely absurd and discriminating. Then came another pivot. Disney said, screw it. They're making the dwarves completely out of CGI. Now, not only are real dwarf actors potentially shut out, but critics argue Disney is just sanitizing decades of problematic stereotyping under the guise of modernization. I don't think they could have won. in this one, honestly. Some in the dwarfism community have pushed back. For them, the CGI choice isn't just about representation, it's about opportunity. Meanwhile, others think that Dinklage's critique went too far, saying Disney's latest movies actually hamper actors with dwarfism. Didn't matter in the end, though, because the movie was a huge success. Huge success. Number 4, Robin. The Robin Williams Aladdin controversy is one of those classic Disney stories where the mouse smiles sweetly while holding a contract behind its back like a cartoon mob boss. Back in 1992, Robin Williams agreed to voice the genie for a fraction of his usual salary, around $75,000, instead of his usual multi-million-dollar rate, because he loved the character and thought the movie was something special and wanted to leave something for his kids. But he had one tiny request: don't use the voice to sell mountains of merchandise. Williams didn't want his genie performance blasted across every lunchbox, cereal commercial, and Burger King kids meal ad. Fair, reasonable, sensible. Disney, on the other hand, heard, please turn my vocal cords into an advertising fire hose. They plastered the genie everywhere, used performance heavily in marketing, even blew up the genie to gargantuan size on the film poster, something Williams explicitly banned in writing. When he confronted them, Disney basically shrugged and said, oops, sorry. Anyway, here's the Picasso painting. Yeah, they literally sent him a Picasso painting as an apology. Very normal, not at all suspicious peace offering. Well, Williams hated the art so much that he never hung it up, although why not? It's charming, right? And more importantly, he was so furious he refused to return for The Return of Jafar, forcing Disney to bring in Dan Castellaneta, Homer Simpson himself, to fill the void. Only after a leadership change and a very public mea culpa did Williams agree to come back for Aladdin and the King of Thieves. So the moral of the story: never underestimate Disney's ability to turn even the kindest celebrity gesture into a merchandising opportunity, or their willingness to fix it later with a weird, priceless art bribe. Number 5, let's get down to business. So Disney's 2020 Mulan live-action film wasn't just criticized for being a lukewarm reboot. It landed in a full-on geopolitical minefield territory. Why? Because parts of the film were shot in Xinjiang, the same Chinese region where the government has been accused of running massive internment and re-education camps for Uyghur Muslims. Here's where things went from pretty bad PR to how did nobody stop this? In the end credits, Disney gave a big special thanks to a bunch of local Xinjiang authorities. We're talking the Turpan Public Security Bureau, which is linked to at least, 14 documented detention camps. They also thanked propaganda departments tied to the Communist Party in Xinjiang, agencies that some argue are complicit in whitewashing the human rights abuses happening in that region. Unsurprisingly, this sparked some serious blowback. Activists, human rights groups, and even U.S. lawmakers called it out as Disney cozying up to the authorities associated with cultural genocide. In a letter from Congress, Disney was pressed on whether it did any real due diligence before filming in a region under heavy international scrutiny. Disney's defense, they said it's just standard practice in filmmaking to thank local governments that grant filming permission. Also, they claim the credits list came from a local production partner, not, from Disney's top brass. Here's the kicker. Even though Disney claims it only shot a few days in Xinjiang, researchers noted the crew likely passed by 7 re-education camps on their way to the location shoots. So yeah, pretty tone-deaf move that left a lot of people wondering, did Disney just make a friendly film or a propaganda postcard? Number 6, Under the Sea Men. Picture this, the original Little Mermaid VHS cover features King Triton's undersea castle, right? A magical fairy tale fortress until one tower apparently looks very not magical. Yeah, one spire on that golden castle got called out for bearing an uncanny resemblance to the male anatomy. Rumors flew that some revenge-seeking Disney employee snuck it in as a middle finger to the mouse house, because what better way to quit your job than by drawing a giant cartoon dong on a kid's movie cover? But the real story, according to the artist, they actually asked him, he was just hustling to finish the art at 4 a.m, totally sleep-deprived, and didn't mean for the tower to scream adult toy aisle. Maybe this whole Rorschach situation going on there. But somebody eventually pointed out Disney, they kind of shrugged. They greenlit the cover anyway, presumably because someone more senior didn't notice or just pretended not to. After the controversy blew up, they quietly swapped in a more PG-friendly version for later VHS and Laserdisc releases. At the end of the day, it wasn't a scandalous corporate prank or revenge, just bad timing, a sleep-deprived artist, and one very unfortunate tower. Thingamabob indeed. Number 7. Daycare Smackdown. Back in 1989, Disney decided that daycare centers in Florida were not permitted to host 5-foot-high guest appearances by Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy, even if it was just wall art to entertain 3-year-olds. These weren't shady underground Mickey knockoffs, life-size, lovingly painted Disney characters, but to Disney, adorable mural equals unauthorized trademark use. Why so serious, Mickey and Company? Well, because letting these daycares throw up giant Disney faces for free set a dangerous precedent, because if Disney ignored it, other people might think they could plaster Mickey all over their businesses without licensing, and in the world of IP law, that's a no-go. Once you stop enforcing your trademark, you risk losing the right to enforce it later. Faced with the threat of a lawsuit, the daycares did what any savvy small business would do. They started painting over Disney's gang, but the story didn't end there. Universal Studios and Hanna-Barbera, smelling a PR win, swooped in and offered the centers free murals of Scooby-Doo, the Flintstones, and other friendly faces. The result, Disney got their way legally and protected its brand, but it also ended up looking like a giant cartoon bully picking on the places for kids, all while its rival turned the situation into a big marketing win. Why Disney couldn't have just licensed it to those places for a nickel, we'll never know. Well, there's our list, and I leave out any other Disney scandals that they don't want us to know about. If so, please let us know in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, tippity-tap that notification bell, and give us some hype. Hype us up. Till next time, I'm Seven McAllister for 7 Entertainment saying bye-bye.